Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure and privilege to welcome you all once again for this distinguished lecture series on energy efficiency, the 15th in series for this month. We are very privileged to have Sri Abhay Bakre, Director General, Bureau of Energy Efficiency, Ministry of Government of India, to deliver the distinguished lectures today, the distinguished lecture on energy efficiency today. Mr. Bakre is known to all of us. Mr. Abhay Bakre is the Director General of Bureau of Energy Efficiency, and under his leadership, several initiatives for accelerating energy efficiency has been taken up in a variety of sectors across the entire country. Many new schemes have been and programs have been launched under his leadership, and under his leadership as the Director General, Bureau of Energy Efficiency has been playing a key role in achieving India's climate change goal. Mr. Bakre is also the Sherpa for Clean Energy Ministerial Platform of 26 government members. The objective of this platform is to initiate new policies and programs to facilitate climate change mitigation and energy transition in the country. Apart from his present designation as the Director General of Bureau of Energy Efficiency, Mr. Bakre has worked in various capacities in the government. He was earlier the Executive Director in the Ministry of Railways. He was a nodal officer for GHG reduction in Indian Railways. Several activities have been taken up in Indian Railways under his leadership, and phenomenal improvements and achievements have been taken up in Indian Railways when Mr. Bakre was in charge of energy efficiency activities in Indian Railways. Several railway projects, Delhi Metro and Kolkata Metro extension projects, were some of the major initiatives where Mr. Bakre was involved. He was Joint Development Commissioner in the Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, and was also the nodal officer for National Manufacturing Competitiveness Program. Another very important activity where Mr. Bakre was involved was the head of Petroleum Conservation Research Association. During this time, he was responsible for initiating fuel conservation policy in transport sector and appliance sector, which many of us know have paid significant dividends. He represented the Ministry of Power at the G20 ministerial meeting at Argentina in 2018, at Japan in 2019, and of course, through the virtual mode, the G20 summit hosted by Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in 2020. Mr. Bakre is an alumni of IIT Kharagpur. Apart from all this, Mr. Bakre, having known him and interacted with him for more than a decade, Mr. Bakre is a person of deep thought and action, and deep thought, and many of his thoughts also get converted into action. We are privileged to have Mr. Bakre be here with us and deliver his distinguished lecture on energy efficiency. Over to you, sir. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Venkatagiri, for my introduction, and thank you so much for inviting me in this lecture series. So let me start with one simple word: why the world has changed in terms of energy efficiency, or in particular for the energy efficiency after the Paris Agreement. India started energy efficiency as a big movement since constitution of this Energy Conservation Act. The Bureau of Energy Efficiency was set up, a big step from the government side, setting up such a ambitious and very important institution for the country. But considering the fact that a large amount of energy we were consuming during 2000 or 2002, and the energy which is yet to be under the demand, or the demand for energy will continue to grow in coming decades, there is a vast difference, not only in terms of the per capita energy or even per capita electricity to be used by every countryman, but at the same time, the kind of energy which is required at the industry level, at the transport level, and now the sector where it will grow definitely and very fast is the building sector, especially the commercial building. Commercial building, because they are the buildings or the kind of they are housing, they are the establishments which are going to have the enterprises. The service sector has everybody the biggest contribution to the economy. There will be many large demand on the commercial buildings. Now these commercial buildings will have many more energy demand in terms of the gadgets, the kind of air conditioning, the kind of other infrastructure, IT infrastructure. Most of the functioning of these establishments will continue to grow in terms of higher bandwidth, higher participation in online system. So the building sector in this decade, 21 to 30, will be the biggest sector which is going in terms of energy demand. And maybe we expect that by 2030 or maybe by 2035, we will have a switch that from the highest energy consuming sector, we will have building as the forefront rather than the industry which has been there for last many decades. Now this is what I want to say about the kind of energy growth. But what especially has happened, which was not there from 2002 when the BE was set up and after 2016, the Paris Agreement. A major push from the world, and especially India being the leader, to combat the climate change, to take actions to meet our climate goals, to take action to fulfill our Paris Agreement targets. All these things have actually kind of changed the definition of energy efficiency. We started energy efficiency more of an individual perspective, a parameter which is more beneficial to the user. The beneficiary is going to get lesser energy cost. There is a estimation of payback period. There is a calculation of return. And finally, we want to say which is the energy, which is the technology, the kind of action we want to take, energy efficiency measures we want to take, how much it is going to actually get the return. Within how many years the investment will get back. That is something which was much simpler, but it is in the past. Now we are trying to keep not only as an individual parameter, we are trying to get it how much the sector can save. If not how much sector, how much fuel we can save, which kind of fuel we are going to save. What is the new technology coming up? Is it the same fuel? Is it going to be the low carbon technology? Will it be a fuel switch? Will that be a saving on the demand side? Will it be a infusion of renewables, whether it's solar, wind, or any other kind of biomass, biofuel, or even the latest in line, the hydrogen? All these opportunities have come up. That has given a much larger perspective of energy efficiency. If I give a simple example, I want to put a solar rooftop. What should I do? If I get an audit, I must have a 10 kilowatt solar panel. So I will need a cost for 10 kilowatt solar panel. I will need a cost for the controller, the associated cabling, wiring, etc. Everything to 10 kilowatt. But if I get the energy efficiency done, change my lighting, change my gadgets, do whatever improvement I can do, and I can bring down the demand from 10 kilowatt to 6 kilowatt before putting the solar PV. Now I have the reduced cost for the solar PV, the reduced cost for the cabling, the reduced cost for the controller. All these things is possible only by taking energy efficiency measures. Now that's why the energy efficiency is called cross-sectoral initiative. It is not only now limited to a particular individual, to a particular process or a system or installation. It is going cross-sectoral. The benefits are very huge. And that's why now we have started calling energy efficiency as the first fuel all over the world. We had the 4 fuels: coal, oil, gas, and the renewables. But now we are calling energy efficiency as the first fuel. Coming specific to the sector-wise, energy efficiency in industry sector, Bureau started with the PAD scheme, very ambitious scheme. It was really a tough task to get the industries on board, because they have their business compulsions, they have their different technologies, different fuel mix, and different specific energy consumptions. Each sector has a particular product or a combination of product, but for which there is an input of energy. How can we give benchmark each and every sector, each and every industry? But Bureau started doing it with baseline audits, with technological assessment, And finally, we could have a very clear targets in terms of specific energy consumption for the 3-year period. 3 year was considered as sufficient duration so that industry can take decision in terms of their technology improvement, in terms of their improvement in their auxiliary consumption. They can remove their or eliminate their wasteful consumption. They can improve their accessories or equipment, change them, put some additional inputs, something like VFD or maybe automatic system. They can do a lot of housekeeping and reap the benefits of low-hanging fruits, like changing their pipelines, steam lines, pressure lines, or even all other housekeeping measures. They can do it. That started with our first phase. Initially, every industry, every sector has some kind of apprehension. How can we have such a big scheme covering almost 35 to 40% of the energy of the industrial consumption with a single initiative in such a vast country, first-hand experience? But by the time we came to 2015, all of us were quite in mature stage. Industry realized it's going to be a good benefit for them. And then came the Paris Agreement. And by 2015-16, we had our assessment done, the monitoring and verification was completed. Most of the industries have done a really good job. At the same time, I must say, the support from the energy auditors, the energy managers. Every industry appointed the energy manager, a qualified person. We got more than 5,000 by that time, 5,000 energy auditors, about 9,000 energy managers, and all of them started working for each sector very, very professionally. And all of them actually had so much contribution in PAT1 scheme. Now, this gave real boost to the industry as well as all the stakeholders, including Bureau of Energy Efficiency. Let me again complicate the kind of efforts, which I must say, efforts put in by the industry and all other professionals, including EA, EMs, to make the PAT1 scheme at such a new scale that the PAT2 was really, really professional assignment. The PAT2, we gave much more targets. Over and above the PAT1 achievement, we started expecting that new technologies will get in. 3 new sectors were added. First time, the service sector could include, like railways, discoms, refineries, such a complex industry was included. But all of them really did well in PAT2. PAT2 was real exercise where the profession was reached to very, very huge scale, and the competence of almost now 15,000 energy managers and auditors, they really helped a lot. We changed the methods, we improved a lot. We held the energy auditing and the monitoring verification with the help of experts. So we changed the regulation, stating that not only the auditor team will go, it will be accompanied by sectoral experts, so that we can have both sides. We can understand the technology, we can understand the assessment of the energy saving measures. At the same time, how much they have done improvement in each sector. It really gave a big push to the industry energy efficiency scheme. The first cycle, when we had a target of 6.68 million ton, and we could save 8.68, it was really a heartening note. But the second cycle was more challenging because we were actually working at a stage where we had already reaped the benefit of all the low-hanging fruits. So it was a real exercise. But the response from the industry was really overwhelming. Even I think about the 60% industries who shared the kind of investment they gave, it was 43,000 crore, as against something around 9,500 crore in the first cycle. When we assess the outcome in terms of CO2 mitigation, it was 61 million ton of CO2 as against 31 million ton in first cycle. So I must compliment the hard work done for the PAT cycle too, which I still believe was one of the biggest challenge. And the most important, we covered almost 50% of industry consumption in one single initiative. And let me understand that 304 million ton of oil equivalent covered in single scheme, in single initiative with single notification, maybe one of the biggest scheme perhaps the world would have seen. 304 million ton of oil, more than many of the countries' overall yearly consumption. Cycle 2, 17, new third cycle 18, 19, 20, 21. Now we already have 1,000 plus consumers. In a way, what is benefit? Benefit is that we are having a top-down approach. We are taking the minimum number of consumers with the maximum number of energy conservation covered. Can you imagine just 1,000 consumers covering more than 55% of the industrial consumption with one single scheme? And then there are associated benefits. So it doesn't mean that the benefit is only limited to those 1,000 consumers. There is a lot of capacity building happening, lot many new technologies coming up. The service providers are gearing up, lot of improvements happening in auxiliaries, the way the systems are installed, the way the refurbishment has been done, the changes in the new components, the automation, the nature of energy audit being done. Everything is actually improving year by year, and that is only happening to the medium scale industries, the small industries. So everybody is getting the benefit of consumers. On paper, yes, we are covering 1,000 plus industries in the PAT scheme, but in real fact, there are many more thousands who are getting the benefit, because the entire industry sector is getting improvement. The CO2 saving which we are doing for not only the 1,000 industries, it is also giving benefit to the other sectors. There are other energy intensive sectors, may not be that much intensive, but they are also getting the technological advantage. The kind of investment which is happening at large industries is also percolating to the lower category of industry. And most important, the SMEs who are not much bothered about the energy consumption, because for their individual unit consumption is very less. You don't want to do so much of exercise, don't want to do so much technology upgradation unless they are forced to do so, but they are all getting benefits. So the entire ecosystem is actually improving, and these 5 years from 2016 to 2020 or 2021 now have really seen the change in the perception of energy efficiency, especially in the industry sector. I'll try to conclude the industry sector before I'm going to. And now we have many more things to see in the coming years, especially starting with the industry 4.0. How are we going to leverage this particular approach for saving energy? Second most important, the carbon market. We now want to move into the low carbon technology. We want to make use of the renewables as far as possible, whether in terms of grid electricity, whether in terms of solar thermal, whether in terms of any fuel or any other kind of a carbon neutral energy source. How are we going to get the credit for that? How do we incentive such exercise? Should we only limit to energy efficiency, or should we also incentivize CO2 as a not only specific energy consumption, but specific carbon consumption, specific CO2 consumption? Can we improve that? We are now working on this aspect. We want to work on carbon credits as a new incentive for the PAT industry, or maybe even beyond. This could be the next item, where in coming future, maybe starting with the voluntary kind of some kind of incentive. If you want to switch to a low carbon technologies, there should be some kind of incentive. So this could be one area where we can work upon in the coming 3 to 5 years. The other thing could be what kind of financing assistance we can give. There could be a very robust institutional arrangement where we can go for a new technology transfer, maybe the latest technology, and there should be a ready finance available. So all these things can be addressed. We are already in the phase of ISO deployment of ISO 50001, which is again a good management system where the industry can be benefited. We are trying to have energy management manuals for the industries, and now we can actually start reaping the benefits of digitalization as well as the automation in this sector. I would see that in the coming decade, the industry will still continue to be the biggest consumer for the energy, but at the same time, I will also see that the industry will be the fastest moving towards the low carbon technology and also giving the maximum benefits of energy efficiency. Now coming back to the transport sector. Transport sector is something which will, in terms of fuel efficiency norms. The benefits are yet to come, but the response here is not only from the industry. It is also needed from the consumer side. Consumers have started responding. They are offering a very positive attitude towards high efficiency vehicle, high mileage vehicle, and more so that they want to go for more and more energy efficient like hybrid. They want to go for electric vehicles. There is some kind of interest in the hydrogen. In globally it has started. In India is also expected very soon once such models are there. So a lot of enthusiasm in terms of consumer, and that will motivate the industry, the automobile manufacturers to actually respond. They will come up with the better models, the more energy efficient models. They will come up with more variety of electric vehicles, not only with four-wheeler or two-wheeler, three-wheel, but maybe we will soon have better options in other categories like light commercial vehicle, heavy-duty vehicles. So I'm sure in coming 3 to 5 years, the transport sector will see a major change in terms of their energy consumption. Their mileage will improve, their low carbon footprint, the carbon footprint will improve. And I think the modal shift will be a one big change. The modal shift from individual car to the public shared public mobility or metro systems, which is coming in most of the cities. The major improvement in the shift from road-based heavy-duty transport to dedicated freight corridor, which is the Indian Railways new initiative. We expect corridors to be commissioned very soon, and they will have a major change when we will have the energy consumption on transport sector being optimized with the better efficient mode, better efficient transport alternative, equal are taking a lot of interest in improving energy efficiency in civil aviation, not only at the airport level, but also at the fleet and the aircraft level. And I'm sure in coming 3 to 5 years, where the CORSIA schemes and ICAO initiatives are there, the civil aviation sector, which is also a very big growing sector in last 5 years, we have seen in coming decade, will have a lot of improvement in energy efficiency. I'm yet to see something on the shipping sector, but definitely such measures will be quite useful in shipping sector. Coming back to the building. Now the buildings, as I said, is something which is going with great guns in coming decades. Next 10 to 15 years, we are going to construct almost half of the India, especially in the commercial building. And as I said earlier, we are going to have most of these commercial establishments air conditioned. And air conditioning means the cooling sector will have the biggest rise in the demand. As per the estimate, and that is also given in the India Cooling Action Plan, a very, very effective document and setting out the actions in coming 10 to 20 years, we will have cooling demand rising by almost 3 to 4 times. But there are ways, there are initiatives, there are means we can optimize this demand, and we can cut down it by at least 80 gigawatt of cooling. Today we have almost 120 billion units, rising to almost 360 billion units. We can have almost 100 billion units coming down if we take very aggressive measures on the cooling sector. It can start from the standards and labeling, the efficiency part, the air conditioners, but BE has introduced must compliment here a very significant action taken by Mission Innovation under the leadership of Department of Science and Technology in association with Bureau and DST and other partners. The cooling reward, the Global Cooling Challenge, has really come out well, and we got a very good finalists. 4 finalists were there, and they are able to demonstrate 1/4 impact of the new air conditioner design. I'm very keen to see such very high efficient and low environment impact air conditioners to be in the market in next 2 to 5 years, and I'm sure it will change the game. The way we have seen the changes in the LED lighting, the lighting systems have really changed by the LED technology. I will see that similar thing happening in the cooling sector, and especially on the air conditioning at the lower capacity and the rooms and the offices. Apart from that, the building construction itself will be of key issue. We have already put forth the ECBC 2017, which is a very comprehensive code defining the commercial buildings in 5 different categories with 17 subcategories. And I'm very happy that almost 20 union territories and states, 18 states and 2 UTs have already put forth their notification making it mandatory. Most of the ULBs have already started making the building of approval in design level itself, and later on the construction level in terms of conservation building code approvals. The architects, the developers, and most of the material suppliers, they will have an entirely a different game plan. They will think entirely a different manner and start making buildings which are not only the basic compliance for the energy conservation building code, but they will go for higher levels, which is ECBC plus and ECBC super ECBC. With this, we can expect almost 30 to 40% reduction in the demand from the building sector. And overall, we could see almost 300 billion units of electricity saving by 2030 by using these ECBC buildings. A great help in reducing the electricity consumption. That way, we are actually going to have a large impact on reducing our energy intensity. Apart from building sectors, as I said, the appliance sector has been the key initiative from the beginning. Why it is so important? Because actually the appliance is initiative where the response comes from the household consumer. Each one of us, as a common household consumer, we are using these appliances. Most of these appliances which are energy intensive, and let me say, how do we really find energy intensive? Where perhaps the capital cost of an equipment is only 5 to 10%, and the remaining 80–90% cost actually comes from the lifetime energy cost. So if we can purchase an air rupees, the cost of energy bill in coming 8 but over the years, we got really big response from consumers. That has motivated to ratchet up our energy consumption, energy performance tables, the star levels, the performance criteria have been improved systematically over the last 10 years. And in last 5 years, we have seen that most of these performance levels or the criteria have been upgraded 2 or 3 times. In coming years, we are going to further improve them depending on the technology and the market assessment. But I must thank the stakeholders, the manufacturers, the designers. They have done a lot of efforts in improving their design, putting forth a variety of models, the most efficient models, and now we have started talking about super efficient models. The retailers, the consumers have responded well, and now we are talking really energy efficiency in terms of the appliances, a common household name. The star label is quite popular in most of the household, and that way it is strengthening the energy efficiency movement. That also gives a lot of change in their mindset. Procurement of energy efficient equipment, coupled with their tendency to save the environment, the individual household or individual citizen's commitment to improve the carbon footprint of his own house or his office or his shop and overall society is giving a positive benefit in saving our carbon footprint for the Finally, let me say that all these energy efficiency measures actually need a lot of investment. But when these are all demand side management initiatives, we also find that end user efficiency, when it is improved, the cost of investment, the cost of improvement or the cost of measure is quite less as compared to if we take the supply side measure. If you want to set up a power plant or even a solar plant, the cost is much higher, and I guess if we take some energy efficiency measures, that means even within the 1/4 or 1/5 cost, we can perhaps indirectly take similar benefits as against the overall supply cost and the investment. But that requires a lot of mobilization of finance, because the opportunities exist in different sectors, as I mentioned, from industry, transport, building, MSME, and even the appliances. But there are many more areas where the finance is required. As I mentioned, building is one area where the energy efficient housing scheme can be coupled with financing incentive. MSMEs can be given a lot of financial benefits. But can we move on to the new sectors, the municipalities, the agriculture? All these require energy efficient initiatives, energy efficiency initiatives, energy efficiency measures, and the kind of investment which is there. Upcoming areas like logistics, cold chain, the SME sectors like foundry, dairy, food processing, and maybe new areas like, as I mentioned, the healthcare and tourist sector, the hospitals, the institutions, all of them, if we put financial support through ESCO model, the energy service company model, where investment can be done and the payment can be done based on the energy saving method, it can actually improve a lot of energy efficiency and new sectors. I believe the mission document. As you know, from 21 to 30, India will be working on the new climate change mission with almost 10 to 11 new missions. Energy efficiency will be used through or will be deployed through Roshni mission, the roadmap for a very systematic and holistic national energy efficiency model. We have noted all the sectors, all the action plan, and all the initiatives, and who are the stakeholders who will actually take action. We have given a good trajectory for CO2 as well as energy efficiency improvement. And finally, we believe that in coming years, necessary investment will be there so that we can have energy efficiency targets and CO2 reduction targets fulfilled by 2030. In conjunction, we have also developed Unnati as a working document, which is actually the action plan and a different scale and short-term as well as medium-term benefits as well as actions, which can actually be taken by sectoral and the field actors. And finally, we can see how much we are able to achieve, whether new improvement is required, new initiatives are required, any more investment is needed in particular sector, and finally, any efforts required for capacity building, technology transfer, etc. So the Unnati and the Roshni documents are actually going to have benefit or steer the complete ecosystem or energy efficiency, leading to our desired results of CO2 mitigation. All these will be coupled with similar actions on the renewable side, new opportunities on whether it's a transport sector supported by electric mobility, industry sector and transport sector supported by new hydrogen missions. Already an aggressive target on renewable capacity from 175 gigawatt to 450 gigawatt All these initiatives will actually complement the efforts of energy efficiency. And I believe all the technical institutions, the think tanks, the government actors, state actors, as well as the service providers and the implement agencies, including the state and central PSUs, will do a lot of actions in the energy efficiency to fulfill the targets given in these two documents. Let me compliment all the stakeholders who are becoming partner to the BE's initiative, and we are always there to seek further inputs, learn from all of you, know your feedback and suggestions, and we can further improve upon all the initiatives which Bureau is taking on behalf of our Government of India Ministry of Power and in association with all the other ministries, department. State agencies are also our partners, and they have to play a key role, and all the institutions can support BE in taking forward this initiative. Let me thank CII for inviting me for this very important lecture series, and I wish CII to continue such initiatives in future. And we are also benefited by the partnership from CII in many energy efficiency measures, including industry as well as transport. Once again, thank you very much for inviting me, and thank you very much for your attention.